Hello and welcome to Mr. Scullen's Music Room, the ukulele section. Right, this is video number one of several videos. I don't know how many videos there are going to be, but as it's number one, this is going to be very basic, just introducing you guys to a ukulele if you've never seen one before. If you are familiar with a ukulele, if you know how to play, if you know the names of the strings, if you know how to play a few chords and things, you might want to skip ahead to the next video. You might want to recap because there are a few bits that I might mention that you do not know and you may not have heard before, and it is all sometimes helpful to remind ourselves of these things. But without any further ado, we're going to talk about what the ukulele is. We'll learn songs in another video, but I'll title them all, so hopefully we'll have a nice and easy way to navigate through the channel. So let's start from the very beginning. This is a ukulele. Funnily enough, it looks a lot like a small guitar. The main difference, well, apart from it being smaller, there's less strings and the strings are tuned differently. So when you play the open strings of a guitar, you've got 6 strings on a guitar, you've got 4 strings on a ukulele, and that's what they sound like when they're open. They are tuned to the notes of G, C, E and A. And you may have noticed that G, if you do know about guitars, that G is actually higher pitched than the string below it, which is a bit unusual, but it makes for a more satisfying sound. So G, C, E, A. Do not worry if you cannot remember that order of strings, we can go through that again. So we have 4 strings on our ukulele. We have this section, we're going to talk about all the bits. This is the body, and much like it looks like a person, and much like a person on top of a body, we have a neck. And on top of the neck, you've got your head, and on top of your, not on top of your head, you have a hat, no. On the side of your head, you've got ears, but these are tuning pegs. Now, unless you know how to tune your ukulele, I'll do a video on that as well. Please don't fiddle with your tuning pegs. I imagine whoever has tuned your ukulele, be it your teacher or a grown-up at home, they probably spent a little while getting it right, and the worst thing is for someone to go, oh look, I'm going to twist that, and then it goes all. If you tune it, if they're not in tune, it sounds a bit wonky. So let's just get that back up. Better. Right. So there you go. Don't twist your tuning pegs. That can be slightly horrible to listen to. Right, in between the neck and the head, you've got this little white bit here. Okay, this is the nut, all right? And this marks the beginning of this section on the front of your neck, which is your fretboard. These metal bars here, okay, you'll see these things here, these are your frets, and when you're playing different notes or different chords, you put your fingers in between these little markers so that we can change the note that is coming out of our ukulele, and the sound comes out of this bit here, which is our sound hole. Very imaginative title, I think. Okay, and at the back here, this slightly untidy section, oh, I must trim those, that's called your bridge. Okay, so you've got your bridge here, which you attach your strings to. They go across the body, over the sound hole, along the front of the neck, along the fretboard, up over the nut, and then they get attached to these bits here, which are connected to the tuning pegs on the head of your ukulele. So that's all the bits of the ukulele. Now, I did mention that these strings are tuned to different notes from the musical alphabet. Let's see if you can remember them. Can you remember those notes? Mentioned them a while ago. Don't worry, if you can't remember the notes, there's a little mnemonic which we can tell ourselves. There's one that goes, green cats eat ants, which is a fairly popular one. So if you think about the first letter of the word green, it's G. The next letter, cats, the next word is cats, the first letter is C. Eat, E, ants, A. Okay, come up with your own. I quite like good children eat apples, or giraffes can eat aeroplanes, which is probably true. Don't know if they should eat aeroplanes, but they probably can. Quite a tall creature. Anyway, going a little bit off track there. So that's our introduction to the bits of the ukulele, the names of the strings, and what they should sound like. Now let's talk about what we can do, we can either, there's two main ways to play our ukulele with the right hand. Okay, there's your right hand. It may not look like your right hand when I'm waving at you, but your right hand is over the sound hole. Okay, and this is what you're going to be doing. You're either going to strum your ukulele or you're going to pluck the strings. All right. So if you strum, you can use your thumb or your fingers. And the good thing about your fingers, you've got these nails. Don't know if you realise that you've got nails on your fingers. And if you brush your nails across the strings, it makes quite a nice clear sound, and it's not too uncomfortable. Sometimes if you're playing your ukulele a lot, your fingers can get a little bit sore. All right, if your fingers do get a bit uncomfortable, they're never going to hurt. If your fingers are hurting, then maybe you should have stopped a little while ago. All right, but if your fingers do become uncomfortable or a bit sore, give it a rest. Give it a break for a couple of minutes, or just put it down for the rest of the day, come back to it another time. And your fingers, when you play them again, they'll feel less uncomfortable. And the more you play, the stronger and the more resilient your fingers will become. Okay, so your right hand, you're either going to strum with your thumb or your fingernails, or you pluck with your fingers. Now you can either pluck with your thumb, or if you're using your fingers, I like to use this method. If you look at what my fingers do, and they are walking, and if you use that same movement under your string, oh, didn't mean to do that. Okay, under your string, so I've got my fingers just tucked underneath that A string down there, the first string at the bottom, and I'm going to go first finger, second finger, first finger, second finger. That's a really good little exercise to practice. Get your fingers moving nice and coordinated, and then over time they'll get faster, and maybe you can add a third finger. Then eventually it can go really fast and you can play all sorts of fancy sounding things. But all it takes is a bit of practice. This hand, hello, our left hand, all right, this is used to hold down the strings on the fretboard. We're going to talk about this in the next video. We'll talk about a chord and notes. But just so you know, when we talk about our hand, I've got 4 fingers and a thumb. And the reason I don't number my thumb is the thumb, hey, goes behind the neck of the ukulele. We don't talk about the thumb anymore. Do squeeze against it. It's very, very useful, okay? So the thumb is pushing at the back of the neck, all right? Use your thumb to push against your fingers so you can get a bit of a clearer sound. And then you can either put your first, second, third, or fourth finger on the strings, or sometimes several fingers at the same time, all right? So from our thumb, we've got finger 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you think your fourth finger is your little finger or your pinky, should you wish to call it that, that's fine by me. Okay, and then your first finger is the one next to your thumb. So when we talk about what fingers go where, try and remember that order. Okay, I think that about wraps it up for video number 1. After watching this, practice strumming with your thumb, with your fingernails, walking fingers, and just practice squeezing those strings down with your left hand. Now, like I said about the right hand, it does get a little bit uncomfortable and you will possibly end up with little lines in your finger. Don't worry, they are there for a very short period of time and then they disappear. And then your fingers go back to normal, but they come back stronger, which is amazing. Anyway, that's it for lesson number 1. Video number 2, we're going to talk about chords and notes.